Welcome back to another episode of Top Disc. We are taking the very much hyped Jeremy Koling Tour Series Particle Glow Proton Tempo. This is from Axiom Discs. I bag a lot of Axiom. I currently have an Eclipse Axiom Tempo in the bag. This is one of the discs that I've been surprised with out of any disc that I've picked up. It's got a very overstable feeling disc in the hand, so I kind of expected it to match up to the Zone. However, this does not fly like the flight numbers. The Zone is 4303, the Tempo is 4402.5. So this one currently is getting beat up. It is flipping up and over if I put too much power on, and this is literally just a touch forehand for me now. But now that I've added the range to the bag, I'm not sure if the tempo is going to stay. So really what it comes down to is this new one as stable as everyone says it is? And is it better than a Zone? Let's get into it. Give you my rating. We got 9 holes coming up with lots of different shot shapes. And I'll let you know who I think this disc is for. Let's get into this video. If this tempo is as stable as it's supposed to be, I'm expecting this not to flip up as much as my normal Eclipse tempo. So I'm going to throw this kind of like I would a Zone to the left and let it fade back. It's a very straight flight, but it is fading right there. Not a lot of skip, but that's a much more consistent flight that you would expect out of those flight numbers. It's a great spot to be. This flies more like the flight numbers, I think, just off that first throw. Always a fun ace run with the backstop here on this short hole. Just backhand. Just a little too far right there. They really couldn't have put these trees closer to the basket. Yeah, it's got that finish. The tempo right next to the pen. It's a good throw through a little Annie to get through the gap. This is a little uphill, but it held that stability, and it's not that crazy overstable, so it's pretty forgiving. I think for this one, I'm gonna have to throw it a little bit of hyzer to get it through this little gap between that tree and the back trees. Because if I was gonna throw this flat, I don't know if it would get to the pin. Also just a really bad throw. Just a really bad throw. That was me, not the disc. That was definitely a missed release for me. Like I guess that would have been an early release. Still got to here in circle 1. Thought I was gonna leave that putt high too. Oh, sorry, Tempo. We're just gonna throw this backhand. I think it's just outside of forehand distance here. I have a slight headwind. Just gotta think of that real quick. Please be stable. Go. Okay, that was a good flight. I actually really like that flight. So far, this tempo is has a lot more stability than that Eclipse one that I have. While I like this Eclipse one, sometimes it fails me a little bit because I think it's gonna have that stability and it just doesn't. Let's go with the forehand here, because this is definitely more of a forehand disc. For me, what I think most players should be using it for is more forehand. So I want this to be moving left and scare the basket. Okay, it's definitely more stable than that Eclipse tempo. Here's where that tempo ended up. Pretty close still to the pin. It's just, I think I was expecting it to maybe flip a little bit for me, like the other Eclipse tempo does, but that's just good to know. Let's give it a run. Forehand. Let's do a hyzer. Oh, it just flipped straight up. Yeah. To give this a chance, a little bit of Annie. You get it around the cedar tree on the right. Just like that. Now, I'm hoping it kicks in. It did not. I like that we actually hit the line we had to get it to this point. Maybe we don't putt with the tempo, but one of the shots that I really like using the tempo for are right to left moving forehands. Normally, throw a forehand, it's moving right. But with a little bit of Annie, it'll push in and then flip to flat, but it's still fading towards the pin. Oh, so close. That would have been one of the coolest aces I've ever had. All the forehand aces I have all been skip shots. Never tried to do the Annie play. But it's nice to pick up a cheesy, easy birdie on the last hole. When this came in the mail, I was so excited because I've heard that this was going to be a more overstable version of the previous tempos that I've bagged and I've thrown. And I definitely have to say that is the case. This is obviously a new disc, but it did not burn over on me. It never flipped up and over, which I've had trouble with my Eclipse tempo in the bag. This, after a couple more rounds, will probably be beat into the point where I can take the Eclipse tempo out, put this one in the bag, and probably pair it up with my Zone. Because I do love how stiff this is, and the problem I had with the other tempos, they were Proton soft, and the Eclipse plastic, that glow plastic they have, it's also pretty flexible, just holding it in the hand. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Koling as well, so that was awesome that he came out with this disc as his signature series or tour series disc. Definitely want to support Jeremy, and the particle glow is a nice touch where it glows in the dark. But overall, like, you can backhand this if you like shallow approach discs and mid-ranges, and then obviously incredibly good on the forehand. And I think if you're looking for a disc that is going to have a little bit of that turn and fade, probably the right mold for you. So if a Zone is too much and you're a lower arm speed player, I would highly recommend for beginners, for, you know, like MA3, MA2, this would actually be an incredibly good disc. It's very forgiving. Whereas, like, for me, throwing it really hard, I will get in trouble, because throwing understable discs, you have to think about the hyzer angle. When is it going to flip over? How much is it going to flip over? And how much is it going to come back? Versus if I'm just throwing a Zone, I just pick a spot, you know, and I just throw it and it just fades over. So it's a bit of a trickier disc when you get up to higher arm speeds. So if you have a lot of forehand touch and control, there's not much else out there that really competes with this. I've had pigs that fly like that, but you know, the pigs, they just beat in so fast that I think this is probably the closest thing I can think of to a disc like the Tempo. Highly recommend this disc. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with the Koling Tempo. I think it's the best run that they've come out with. From a score perspective, it's kind of been running on a little bit because I love discs and I like this one so much, but I'm going to give this a 9. Very good disc, and especially if you're looking for your first approach disc, you're looking to add something unique to the bag, this is definitely the disc for you.